Good morning everybody. Welcome back to the class. So we are in the first chapter. It's too lengthy and we have our two main concepts to discuss, as you know. And before going to continue our concepts, and I want a name of a chapter from you people. So we should not forget any heading of any concept. If you remember the heading of any concept, you can remember the concept what you discuss, like a sub-concept, is not. So what is the name of a chapter? As it's a resource and development. Resource and development. So in this, we were in the main concept, like soil as a resource. There we were discussing the last concept. In that we have many sub-concepts. So we are discussing about all those concepts, is not. So we are the classification of a soil. So this classifications, we have varieties of soils in our India. So these soils are classified based on the many things like the color, texture, age, and the chemical components, physical properties. About all those things, based on all those things, the soils has been classified in India. That about the first one is about alluvial soil. So can you give me some two other words? What are two important features of this soil, alluvial soil? I will ask now. It's okay to ask only about the two physical features or any features of our soil, alluvial soil. Any two features of alluvial soil. Yes, it's a very fertile soil. It's found in the northern part of India, in the northern plain mainly. Then there are two types of alluvial soil. One is Bangar and Kadar based on the age. Bangar is called as old alluvial, Kadar is called as new alluvial. And it has covered or occupied around 7 lakh square kilometer area of total area of in India, in the northern part of India mainly. It's found in the southern part of Himalayan mountain ranges and in the northern part of plateau, the Indian plateau, peninsular plateau. So it's a basic 3 points. And why I'm asking question about this alluvial soil or any soils, because you'll definitely get a question based on this, like a differentiate between the alluvial soil and black soil. So next about a black soil, the features, some one or two features of a black soil. Black soil is also called as regular soil and black cotton soil because it's suitable for the growing of growth of a cotton. So it's also called as black cotton soil. This black soil, it has formed or it has parent rock as igneous rock. Igneous rock is parent rock for this black soil. It has formed under the many process of soil formation like weathering and all those things. It found in a very high temperature area and somewhat moderate rainfall. And the main features of this black soil is that it holds the moisture and it will be very sticky during the wet, means in the rainy season. And during the summer season it will be very hard, means it creates a cracks because it shrinks. It shrinks during the summer. In the rainy season it swells. That's about this black soil we discussed. Now we are in about the third important soil. It's about red and yellow soil. Red and yellow soil. Last day, briefly I explained about this red and yellow soil. Now we will discuss some points. This red, first we have a two here, means red and yellow soil. Both are found in one place, one particular places, but the color is changed. So in this soil we have two color, one is red and yellow. We'll discuss how the color has got, why it has changed. It has changed in the color. So red soil, first we'll discuss the red soil. This red soil, it forms, the red soil develops, means it forms its soil texture in crystalline igneous rock. As I told, for the black soil, the igneous rock is a parent rock. Same like that, for this red soil is also the igneous rock. In igneous rock we have many types. Intrusive igneous rock, extrusive igneous rock. So this red soil, it has formed due to this intrusive igneous rock. Intrusive igneous rock, we know about that, isn't it? We discussed in the 7th class. and it is found in areas receiving low rainfall. The areas which receive a very low rainfall, there we can find this soil. So low rainfall and high temperature, it causes for the creation of this red. So this soil gets its red in color due to the diffusion of iron in the crystalline and metamorphic rock. This red soil is formed by the two important rock types. One is igneous rock and metamorphic rock, both. So in between that, what is that rock? Yes, it's a sediment rock. We have three types of rock. First, after cool and solidification of lava, we'll get igneous rock. Then after the weather, it becomes sediments. Then it's called as sedimentary rock. Then when the sedimentary rock goes under heat and high pressure, it creates metamorphic rock. We know about these three. Then again it gets the circle. It gets connection with the magma and it continues its circle of what is called the cycle of formation of rock. So here is this red soil. It gets formed from the both. One is igneous rock and metamorphic rock. Crystallally igneous rock and metamorphic rock. From there we will get this red soil. So this soil gets its red in color due to the diffusion of iron in the soil. Diffusion is spreading of iron oxide in the soil that turns that soil into the red color. It gets a different color called as red. This soil develops red in color due to diffusion, otherwise spreading of iron in crystalline and metamorphic rock. So when this iron oxide got spread with this soil, that turns the color red in this soil. It develops red in color due to the spreading or diffusion of iron in the crystalline and metamorphic. So then this red soil develops mainly in the crystalline igneous rock, and it's found in areas which receives low rainfall. So what are those areas which receives very low rainfall? Yes, it's found in the states like eastern part of, we have many things, eastern part and southeast, eastern and southeastern and southern part of India. Here we can find this red soil. Both the red and yellow soils are found in these areas, eastern, southeastern and southern part of India. Then about the yellow soil it gets its color due to same process, due to the diffusion, due to spreading of iron oxide in the soil, it gets into red. And when this iron means like a spread of this iron oxide that gets spread in the soil in the hydrate form, it's not in the hydrate form. So when this iron gets spread in the soil in the hydrate form, it turns that color into yellow. So we can find the reddish of this color in the layer of it. The top layer of the soil is the red color, and as you go down in this layer, it's like in this soil, you will get yellow. Because in the beneath of earth crust will be having some moisture, it will be having some water molecules. So that turns that color, red color, into yellow. The soil color turns that into yellow color. In the upside, this is the layer of earth. There, the layer of this soil, it will be exposed to the sunlight. The high temperature will be there and low rainfall. So that's the reason when the iron ore that gets spread with this soil, that turns its color into red. But in the down part, suppose here it's a soil. this upper layer of this soil will be exposed with this to this sunlight. So because of this high temperature, when it spreads like iron ore, when the iron ore spreads, iron oxide spread with this soil, it turns its color into red. But in the down or beneath or bottom of this soil will be the different color. It's a red color. The same, this soil will be get diffusion with this iron. It gets a spread of iron there in the same, but it will be in the hydrated form. Means it will be having some moisture in there. So that turns towards the yellow in color. So yellow soil develops due to spreading of iron oxide in the hydrated form. In crystalline and metamorphic rock. So this yellow soil that gets its color, it develops due to the spreading, it develops yellow in color. It develops yellow color due to the diffusion of iron oxide in the soil. So what are those soils? Like the crystalline and metamorphic soil. So this diffusion of iron, it will be the hydrated form. It will be having some water molecules, means like it's like a moisture. It will be spread in the moisture. So that reason that turns that color into yellow. Here in the red soil, the spread of iron oxide, it will be not a moisture, it will be dry because it will be exposed with the sunlight. So that's the reason it turns its color into red. So it's about the red and yellow soil. And this soil, like a red soil, has low, means it has not much rich, having means like it don't have much chemical compositions as like alluvial soil and black soil has. So because this red soil will be exposed to this high temperature and it's found in the areas which receives low rainfall. So that's the reason it will not be having much humus and the fertility of the soil will be less. So that reason the chemical component of this red soil is having less than comparing with the alluvial soil and red soil. So this red soil is the third most important soil after the alluvial soil and red soil in India. So it covers most of the land area, land surface after these two, alluvial soil and red soil. So red soil is poor in, and it has a poor content of it has poor content of potash, magnesium, then the nitrogen, the lime. So in this soil don't have the important chemical components which must be had in the soil to have a fertility, to have a humus. So this soil is not having more fertility and humus because this don't have these chemical components like potash, magnesium, nitrogen and lime. These are the important chemical component that soil should have to have a fertility, but it don't have. So in this soil, in the red soil, we can grow the crops like wheat, cotton and then coconut. So we can grow the important fruits in this soil with only suitable and suitable techniques like the irrigation facilities and the fertilizers, chemical fertilizers, pesticides. If it is provided to this soil, then we can grow good crops over here like fruits, vegetables. It is having less humus, fertility. So this soil can be used to grow the crops like with a suitable irrigation facility, and fertilizer. This soil can be used to grow coconut or cotton, wheat, rice. Yes, vegetables. Coconut is not grown in this, I think. Cotton, wheat, vegetables, and the fruits are grown in this soil with the suitable irrigation facilities and the fertilizer, chemical fertilizers. If you add in this to this soil, you can grow these vegetable, fruits, cotton, wheat. All those can be grown in these areas. It's about this red and yellow soil, and this got spread, or it occupies around 3.5 lakh square kilometer of the areas of India. It occurs, it occupy, otherwise it spread. It got spread around here in around 3.5 lakh square kilometer of area. In India, it has got spread around in 3.5 lakh square kilometer area. So that's the third important soil after the alluvial soil and red soil. Right on this, we go for next one. Is it over? Is it visible to you people? Is it visible? Shall I clean the board? Is that over? Okay. The next fourth important soil of India is laterite soil. Laterite soil. So the word of this soil is like a term of this soil itself. It gives a meaning of this soil. Like laterite, it's a Latin word. Later. So later, it means bricks Latin. In Latin word, the word letter, the first word like this one, the letter, the first half word is letter. It means brick in the Latin word. It's derived from the Latin. And it's the layer or final formation of a layer, like a soil after the weathering. So you know what the weathering? Weathering is under the process of high temperature, low temperature, the rock gets into the pieces. So it's a ultimate result of that weathering. So the final result of a weathering, and this soil get forms due to the intensive leaching. So leaching is like a removal of fertility, removal of humus in the soil. It's a leaching due to the high temperature and very high rainfall. So this soil, like a laterite soil, and is the result of intensive leaching in under high temperature and heavy rainfall. This soil mainly found in the areas which receives high temperature and high rainfall. Due to high temperature and high rainfall, when it exposed to the sun, it means like the high temperature that kills the humus content in this soil, like in the organic matters. This soil get forms with the many factors as we discussed. In that, one of the factors is like organic materials, organic and inorganic. So that soil should have organic matters in that to get humus, fertility. But here, the soil when it exposes into this very high temperature area, means it's found in a very high temperature area. Due to that very high temperature and the intensive flow of water, the organic matters will be removed. Means it will be leached under the leaching process. It will be washed away. It's found mainly in the areas which receives high rainfall and high temperature. It is the meaning of this word. So it's having less humus and fertility. Due to why it's having very less humus and fertility? What is the main reason? So yes, because of leaching, intensive leaching, it's having very less humus and fertility. So as like in the red and the red and yellow soil, it's having a less humus and fertility. The same here we have a less humus and fertility, less humus and less fertility in the laterite soil, but we can grow the crops here. How we can grow crops here? By providing the suitable irrigation and agriculture activities, and by chemical fertilizers and pesticides, we can grow the crops, particular crops in laterite soil. So this soil mainly are used to make brick here. So because when it gets contact with the air, it will become very hard. When it's having moisture in that, when it get wet, means when it will be added with the water, it will be very soft. When it get exposed into this air, or when it get contact with the air, it will become very hard. So it will be very easy to make a bricks. So we are getting help in whatever the construction we are doing all this because of this laterite soil mainly. So it will be very smooth when it wet, and it develops hard when it gets dry. When it gets dry, it will become very hard, and when it added with the water, it will become very soft and sticky, somewhat soft. And this texture of the soil that varies from the silt, loamy, and the sand. Texture of the soil varies from sand. Some of the soil can be found in the sandy texture. And as you go towards the southern part of this India, you may get this soil in the loamy and silt. These are the texture of the soil, and it will be calculated and it will be seen in the size, its size. The sand will having more size, the texture will be somewhat more size. As you go towards the loamy, it decreases in the size, and the seed somewhat is less grain, like grains will be somewhat less in this soil. So it varies as you go towards the southern part. The texture varies from the sand, loamy and seed. It will become very smooth when it get wet, and it will become very hard when it get dry. And as like other soils, it covers around 2.4. It covers around 2.4 lakh square kilometers in India. Square kilometers of area in India. The important crops which we grow here in this soil is wheat, barley, and jowar, and some vegetables, fruits can be grown in this laterite soil by providing the irrigation facilities, agriculture facilities, and chemical fertilizers and pesticides. By using all those things, we can grow the good crops in these laterite soils. This laterite soil are not much found, or it's not covered, or it's not occupied more land over India. But it's somewhat useful when we add up or when we provide the irrigation facilities. And you can see in the map of India, it's found like a dotted somewhere else. It's not found in a particular places like alluvial soil. Alluvial soil are found in the northern plain completely, and the black soil are found in the central part of India. But this laterite soil is not found in a complete one particular places. It's found in the eastern part of India, southeastern part of India, south and western part of India. It's not found in the particular, or it's not gathered in one place. So it's about laterite soil. And we have two more soil to discuss about. It's about the arid soil and the mountainous soil. We'll continue this concept to discuss in the next class. Right on this point. Is that over?